Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube channel of Conscious History, where we will unveil the hidden truths of the past. In this episode we will talk about Rani Lakshimibai, the woman warrior who had double wielding swords and took her baby with her in battle. We talk about people who went down in history as warriors, a lot that we know many of their names. Some of us even emulate them and look up to them for the things they achieved. And that's not bad, except that sometimes we fail to acknowledge the ones that are not exactly popular in pop culture. Let's dive deep into the history of Rani Lakshmibai to see how her brave acts carved her name into the history of India forever. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do and give this video a thumbs up while you're at it. Rani Lakshmibai, originally called Manikarnika Tambe, was born on November 19, 1828. She grew up around the noble people of her village because of the status of her family. Her father was a commander during the war. When she was 4 years old, her mother died, and that changed the trajectory of her life forever. Her father, as a result of his military background, raised her like a boy. She was allowed to do things that other women wouldn't dare to do, like fencing, shooting and horsemanship. She was also taught to read and write, which wasn't something popular among women in that period. She and her friends, Nana Sahib and Tantia Tope, grew up in a small village of Tambe until she was married off to Maharaja of Jhansi in May 1842. Her husband was twice her age, and in honor of the Hindu goddess Devi Lakshmi, he named her Lakshimibai, as was her tradition at the time. 9 years after marriage, she gave birth to a son, who she named Damodar. Unfortunately, as fate would have it, her son died after 4 months as a result of a chronic illness. They mourned, but after a while she and her husband decided to adopt the child of her husband's cousin, who was formerly known as Anandrao. They both renamed him after their dead son and made sure the adoption was done in the presence of a British political officer. Less than a year later her husband died and the British East India Company decided to play her a dirty card. They applied a law called the Doctrine of Lapse to nullify the adoption she had done with her husband and reject the child's claim to the throne. This was a very strategic move because it meant that the territory would be handed back to them, since there was no heir in charge to the throne of Jhansi. Because of her rebellion against this law, she and her son were put out of the palace and sent away with a promise of an annual pension of 60,000 rupees. Of course they did this to get rid of her, but they had no idea what she had up her sleeves. She lay low for 3 years, only interacting with the British a few times, until the rebels of the time caused a great uproar in the city, giving her space to come back into the scene. The rebels were Indians who were pushing out the agenda of the independence from the British, and although Lakshmibai claimed that she wasn't one of them, she was heavily suspected to have been a part of it from the beginning. Because of the gap in authority in Jhansi, she wrote a proposal to Major Erskine, who was in charge of the district at the time, requesting to manage the district on behalf of the British government until the next British superintendent would appear. And while she was there, she made sure she left no space for the rebel who wanted to dethrone her son, who was her husband's nephew. As much as we know, she was doing all this with clear conscience, just for service's sake. She wasn't planning to usurp the British government until they made a careless move. One day, 2 other villages, Orcha and Datia, decided to invade Jhansi, and she asked the government for help with wiping them off. However, they never got back to her and acknowledged her message with backup. This was what made her realize that she and her people were indeed alone, and they had to drop the walls of hostility between them and merge forces to fight against the British government. This realization was all she needed to make a mark in history. She built an army of her own, consisting of members of the rebel group of other villages. Together they raised the walls, guarded the fort of Jhansi, and kept the peace up for at least 5 months, before a British commander came up to observe the peace. By March, she and the commander were in the middle of a thick war, with Jhansi being the bone of the contention. She even had to join forces with her childhood friends Nana and Tope, who helped her greatly during the battle for Jhansi. However, on the 17th of June she was shot and wounded by a soldier during the war. She rode back to Jhansi in pain and died afterwards. Before she died, she asked the people around her to cremate her when she died, and they did. Now I know you're wondering, how does this apply to me? In today's world we barely have physical wars to fight because things are a bit more sane. However, we have internal battles to fight. We have to show up every day to live, and that itself requires a great level of resilience and strength relevant to that of this woman warrior Lakshmibai. From her life we can learn a lot of things. We will be looking at a few of them as we wrap up this video. Courage and boldness. Lakshmibai was bold and courageous, and it showed up in everything she did. Right from the things she did as a child to the last war she fought as a 29-year-old. She executed a great level of courage with everything she did. We too can learn to be bold in the face of danger, and courageous too, taking the fall to ensure the people around us are happy. Craftiness. Don't you like how Lakshmibai switched up on the British government so quickly, paying them back for what they did to her when her husband died? The world is crazy and no one is smiling these days, so as much as we want to be amazing and give to people around us, we should also be crafty. Have some craftiness in your pouch and know when to switch things up. It'll save you a whole world of trouble. Selflessness. Something radical about people who are living for something. They don't shift between their feet and wait around for the danger to come. They go out and meet the danger at the door. This is what Lakshmibai's life was characterized by. Because she knew that she had to fight for her son's future, she threw away her indecisiveness and settled things with the rebels even though she wasn't always comfortable with them. For her son's sake, she did anything and everything, even up to the point of her death. We too can learn to be selfless. We can learn to make great sacrifices for the people around us who need us. It will make us better people at the end of the day. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up if you haven't. See you again next time.